We have a quorum. CNET's ready, right? All right. Let's get rolling. I'm going to call to order the Thursday, December 4th, College Township Regular Council Meeting. We're going to start off with the Pledge of Allegiance. I'm going to ask anyone who can stand to please stand and join me.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, first item on tonight's agenda is public open discussion. Do we have anybody in the audience tonight or online who'd like to address council on anything that's not already on the agenda? Do we have anybody online?
No.
Okay, and no one in the audience? Okay, then we'll move to new council members, staff.
May want to bring up the exec session.
Yeah.
Ah, thank you.
Sorry.
We do have something. I'm required to mention, to notify officially that the council met in executive session prior to this meeting to discuss a personnel matter, which is allowed under Pennsylvania Sunshine Law. So, thank you, Mark. That takes us to new agenda items. Do we have anyone here at the table that requests a new agenda item for tonight's meeting or future meeting? Anyone in the audience? Requests for new agenda items? Okay, hearing none, we're going to move to page 2 of the agenda. Special presentation. Tonight we have one, SP1, College Township Industrial Development Authority, annual update. I see we have the PowerPoint all queued up.
Yes, and hopefully I can use the clicker well enough. But. And since Matt's here and he's the one that always does the jokes, I don't need to open with one. So. Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to come and give you our annual update on what the College Township Industrial Development Authority has been doing through 2025.
Carrie, could you introduce yourself for America?
Yes. I'm Carrie Knepp. I'm the Economic Development Coordinator for College Township, and I'm the Executive Director for the College Township Industrial Development Authority.
Thank you.
Up here on the screen is the photo of the 8 board members that we currently have serving on the IDA. Lamb Hood, Benson Lichting, John Peterson, Anthony Fergola, Ray Forziat, Ray Liddick Jr., Vanessa Sherman, and Katie Colby. We had another member who resigned mid-year, Rich Button, because he moved out of College Township, so then was ineligible to be a board member. The IDA has just over $2.9 million in assets. $1.2 million of that is invested with our business clients. The rest of it is invested in Pliget or in money market accounts, earning interest. The IDA meets the third Wednesday of every month at 9:30. What we focused on primarily in 2025 was getting prepared to implement our 2026 strategic plan. If you may remember, when I presented to you in December of last year, we had just finished up a bunch of workshops to put together our strategic plan. We spent the first half of the year going through all of the data that we kind of gathered through that and the ideas, and we formed the strategic plan, which was provided to council some number of months ago, I believe. We spent the second half of the year setting up the organization to really be successful implementing this going into the new year. So out of that came our mission statement, and that's really what has driven the strategic plan: enriching the quality of life in our community by driving strategic development, empowering businesses with dynamic solutions, and building collaborative partnerships. Those 3 core elements are what we used to identify our 6 priorities. We have 2 priorities for each of those 3 core elements, and then those are broken down into goals and specific objectives. So for driving strategic development, we have targeting area revitalization and diversity of business and industry, which ties really well into what Planning Commission and Council is working on in terms of the Dale Summit Revitalization Plan. We're looking at continuing with the beautification projects that we'll talk about, in a little bit again, and increasing the organization's awareness that we can serve as pass-through entities for grant funding. Then the second is empowering businesses with dynamic solutions. We have business retention and expansion and entrepreneurship innovation. You know, we talk a lot about how we can attract outside businesses, and sometimes we forget the element of taking care of the businesses that already exist in College Township. So we made sure to highlight that as a part of our strategic plan. We're looking at going to do a business survey of College Township businesses this year, looking at underutilized or vacant properties and how we can help fill those. But our biggest goal for this year is to look at an incubator facility again. You may recall that the IDA in the past had a business center that they sold some number of years ago out in the Dale Summit area. In working with Penn State's incubator and a number of the entrepreneurial organizations here in Center County, really recognizing the need for additional incubator space and exploring what that looks like and how the IDA can be a part of that moving forward. And then building collaborative partnerships. This one is both external and internal focused. For us to really succeed as an organization, we need to make sure that we have our house in order internally as well. And so we wanted to make sure that we're implementing onboarding and annual training for authority members that includes things like right to know laws, Act 102, which is what we abide by in terms of economic development financing, but also making sure that we're inviting economic development adjacent organizations to come to our meetings and engage with our board members there as well. So in order to accomplish all of that, we're moving more towards working groups than standing committees. Due to limited staff power, this will help be able to move these priorities along in a quicker manner. The committees had been set up more for a revolving loan fund, and since the organization is moving in a broader direction than just loans for businesses, we want to make sure that we're going to accomplish those. So we'll have 3 to 4 working groups that'll have one board member that's in charge of leading that so that we make sure there's still continuity and that we're abiding by our bylaws. But they will be made up of board and non-board members so that we can engage experts and stakeholders that are in our community that really have a stake in the economic success here in Center County. It'll reduce the burden on staff. It engages board members more so that it lets them focus on a specific priority and objective versus kind of the revolving loan. And it broadens community involvement and creates greater buy-in. So then small business grant. We came to you budget season last year and asked you to partner with us to increase the beautification of our gateway corridor here, recognizing that as an important piece of small business development and economic growth here. You allocated funds to us for 2025. And now we're not moving forward.
Oh. Hold on. Nothing.
There we go. With that $25,000, we did award 5 projects this year, each at $5,000 each, through 2 rounds of application periods. So we had an application period in the spring, and then we had another period in the fall. 2 of those projects have been completed to date. The other 3 will get underway in the spring once the weather breaks. With that $25,000, for the 2 projects that have already been completed, they've invested well over $100,000 in those beautification and facade improvements. So while they were only required to have a $5,000 match to the $5,000, each of their projects were, over $30,000 to $60,000 each in improvements on their buildings. So these are just the 2 examples of the projects that have been completed, which I'm sure you've noticed as you've driven down the corridor. Bonfire Barbecue was one. You can see what their building looked like prior to. They added additional signage so that people would be able to see that they were there. People remember it as, old Pizza Hut, I believe, and so it gave them really their own appearance here in the community. They've also done some improvements since these pictures were taken in terms of split rail fencing and stuff, so they've really poured a lot into that And then the second one was your building center, and so they did a lot of improvements there with painting of the building, a new awning, and new signage on the front of their building as well. We did request of council budget allocation again for 2026, and so we appreciate your consideration for that as we move forward. We've had significant amounts of businesses still along the corridor that have asked when the next round of grant funding is going to be. So it's really spreading, and that's what we were hoping for, and so that it will spur more people to invest in that improvement to their facades as well. Clients that we have for really our revolving loan fund, we have one new loan this year for $300,000, and it's only a one-year loan, so that's a good turnaround for us. We have one loan that had to be extended beyond the completion of their initial contract, which would have ended this year, so that will be extended. We did close out 3 loans this year in total, and so we still have 2 existing participation loans, which are with the Chamber's revolving loan fund. We have 3 direct loans and 2 lines of credit guaranteed that we guarantee. A great success story, if you were not aware, our client XHAB 3D was a part of the Habitat for Humanity of Center County's home build in Harris Township. They 3D concrete printed the walls, so that was really neat to be able to get out there and see. XHAB's been a great partner with us, and they're looking forward to other projects that they can engage with College Township as well. Just a few things from the Habitat for Humanity. The house occupant has to be 40 to 80% of the AMI, and they have to give 350 hours of sweat equity before they're able to receive their home. So if you haven't been out there, this is not the latest picture on the right, but I just wanted to give that teaser. If you haven't been out, make sure you go out and check out the house there. It's behind the Harris Township building. And then we have a number of partners that we work with throughout the year. They're listed up here between projects locally here in the township, throughout the county, and then regionally as well in a multi-county area through such things as CEDACOG and Focus Central PA. These are just a few of the things that we do with them. There's a monthly meeting. We have an entrepreneurial ecosystem cohort that meets monthly at Penn State that's working on ecosystem mapping for entrepreneurs and for businesses that will help guide people through if there's resources they're looking for their business in different stages. We help with the career fairs that CareerLink has put on. I participate in the Economic Development Steering Committee for Ferguson Township as a representation of what IDAs in the community can do, the Economic Development Council for Center County. Most recently, we were asked to be a pass-through applicant for an LSA grant for Discovery Space, so we submitted that just this past week. Project development trainings, we were asked to participate at PSATs for economic development for municipalities. Engagement with DCED and PA Business, we had representatives from those organizations in January of this year, came out and we showed them around the mall and other areas here in Center County. We also engaged in a number of CBICC events, and we sponsored the Emerging Business Award for the Chamber and was a judge on the Civics Fee that the Chamber puts on. So those are just some pictures of the different events, and then I can answer any questions.
Anything from staff before we go to council? No? Rich, anything? Questions? Comments?
Yeah, comments, but not really any questions. I've been monitoring with great interest. It's amazing from where we came just in a couple years, and congratulations, thank you, everything. The initiatives, the vision, the mission, how we're going to get there, everything, and just even more, just being out there, being visible, being seen. I mean, we talked a lot about we were the secret asset, and I can't say that anymore. I mean, every time I go out to an economic thing, I see you. So that's what we need to do. So thank you.
Tracy?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you. Kudos to you for your leadership, and it's amazing what you guys were able to do just in the 2 years that I've been on here. from just your perspective from last year to the position that we're in this year. Just want to say thank you.
Yeah, the same thing. You know, it's been really amazing to watch the evolution of the IDA over the last couple of years, or the maturation of the IDA. It's been really encouraging, as Rich said, you know, we're no longer the best kept secret. But it is something I think that all the residents of the township can be really proud of. And for that reason, we're really grateful. One comment, question, request, in regards to small business grants. Something to think about as you're working with that project this year. It's in our draft budget. You know, you made the request, and we came up in our work session, so it's in there. Hopefully it'll still be in there as we get through that agenda item tonight. But one of the things that came up in that discussion was asking the IDA for consideration to expand the geographic area. And the reason I mentioned, and this came from me, is we're using the Gateway Corridor because way back when we created the Gateway zoning district, really wasn't anything behind them. The Gateway started at the mall because that was the end of the Gateway. And that's changed. You know, we've done some redevelopment at Corning, you know, there's development now on the other end of the Y. So actually everything from the township line in now is kind of like the Gateway. So if it would be possible to consider businesses out.
For a second, honey.
We should be able to turn that off, right?
Can,
We need to mute someone.
can we mute them?
It's Gary's kids.
Oh,
I wish they were still that little.
Yeah.
They're not that little anymore.
so just to ask of the IDA to think about that.
Do you mind if I give you a few thoughts on that
Sure.
at the moment? So when we brought the initial proposal to you, it did have Benner Pike and College Ave all the way out past, you know, basically to Summit Park. We narrowed the focus down on that because of the number of businesses. There's actually 70 businesses that technically qualify just from here to the Y, to the point of the Y there. And so it's quite a large number to be able to spread that amount of funds through. And the second reason is because we're going through the form-based code discussion for Dale Summit, there's going to likely be a lot of potential change in that area that doesn't spread quite as far down this direction. And so the funds that would be used down here wouldn't necessarily change in the next few years. So if we give the award to some businesses further out in the Dale Summit, there's a chance that those properties could be redeveloped as a part of the new Dale Summit plan. And then the funds may not be as influential, I guess, as they would be if they're in this area that's not going to be impacted as much by the Dale Summit. So that was kind of a little bit of the reasoning. Certainly, if you feel that it's important to expand that, there's no heartache on doing that. But that was kind of the reasoning the reasoning for why it was more this end of the town. So yeah, certainly.
Yeah, thanks for that. Just a couple follow-up comments. I understand that you didn't have a lot of participation at first, and you actually had to do some outreach. So despite the fact you had 70 businesses, there wasn't a lot of businesses lining up to take advantage of that. Maybe that'll change this time around, you know, second time around. And secondly, I don't know that there's any more increased likelihood of redevelopment in the Dale Summit area as there is inside. Because anybody who invests in those right now in the form-based code area, they're in. I mean, that's, it's not like they're gonna have to change
Right.
if we adopt form-based code. what they do. And I would think, like you said, those businesses made substantial investments above and beyond the seed money, that was given from the IDA. So just something to think about. I don't know that there's any more likelihood of redevelopment. Certainly no one's going to be forced to redevelop out there. And I would offer the chances of redevelopment in the Gateway corridor are the same as they are in the Gateway. I think what you might see is undeveloped properties developing, but they wouldn't be part of this. So it was just a thought. Maybe you can, toss that out to the authority and see what they think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just to follow up to your comments. Yeah, it's crystal ball stuff of where it's going to develop, but I think your press releases on your awards, I think is going to help perpetuate, this wasn't just talk, this happened, I know who that is and everything. I think that might help you in marketing it going forward.
And part of the business survey that we want to do is a part of that marketing piece to it as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
One last thing then, if the fear is that you'd have more participation than you can handle, I would suggest you come back to council and ask for more.
Oh, I will, Adam.
This is where Adam says, thank you, Eric.
Thank you, Eric.
No, I appreciate that, certainly.
Yeah, we had to get our one, we have to set Adam up for the rest of the meeting here, so.
My thanks.
All right, other questions? All right, thanks, Carrie.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Oh, by the way, that is the most thorough IDA update I think we've ever gotten.
Yeah. The guy before her was definitely not as thorough.
All right.
Nope. You are correct.
That concludes special presentations. That takes us to plans tonight. Tonight we have one plan, P1, Gray Star, Hastings and University Student Housing Facility. This is potentially an action item, but I think it would be appropriate to hear first maybe from staff and then from our representative from Gray Star or the university or both.
Thanks. Chris Nasuti,
There you go.
close it out maybe, is here from HRG to present the Gray Star Hastings and University Drive Student Housing Final Land Development Plan. The Planning Commission saw this at their last meeting in November and made a recommendation to council. We, as you see in the memo, there's just a small portion of College Township that's being considered in this project. So we're looking at it for stormwater and traffic impacts. And there's a memo here, we can talk about the process, but Chris is here to do his presentation. I think that would be helpful before we jump into our process memo.
I think it would be.
Yeah, hi, my name is Chris Nasuti with HRG. Here on behalf of Gray Star Development. This is a public-private partnership with Penn State. Penn State is leasing the ground for this. It is a 1,505-bed student housing facility. It'll be for sophomores and above. Freshmen will be still on campus. There you go.
There is a clicker there. There you go.
There you go. The project location will be at the existing long-term parking here at University Drive and Hastings Road. As Ms. Shook was saying, the majority of the project here, the project proper is all within State College Borough. There is some leased parking that will be out here in College Township. College Township is the pink area in the upper right-hand corner. The leased parking is the yellow highlighted area. The main impacts to College Township will be traffic and stormwater management. We did have a traffic impact study completed, reviewed and approved here by the township and by State College Borough both. Just an existing site. So we are in State College Borough here in the UPD Subdistrict 5. As you can see, it's just inside State College Borough, just outside, which is also the same sub-district here, sub-district 5 in the UPD in College Township. We do meet all the zoning regulations. We don't need any variances or exceptions or anything. Here the highlighted gray areas indicate where we're trying to save some legacy trees to make this project blend in with the scenery and not be so imposing. There are 4 structures here. Each structure is about 6 stories high. So we will have the legacy trees in the center, and then we'll have some along the perimeter as well to buffer that view from the streets. The bike path, we do have connection in between. The College Township bike path will go to the south and west of here, but we will have facilities to accommodate bike racks and access to that bike path within our facility as well. The project will be delivered in 2 phases. First phase will have academic year 2028, which will be the first 2 buildings along Hastings Road. That'll be about 876 beds. The second phase for academic year 2029 will have the remaining beds, 629 beds. Give you an idea of what this will look like. This is a view from the intersection of Hastings Road and University Drive. There were 4 buildings, 2 along Hastings again, 1 along University, and then 1 along College Avenue. This would be a view of Building 1 from Hastings Road. Building 2 from Hastings Road, you can see some of the landscaping there we have in there to soften the environment. Here's a view from the courtyard of Building 3 and a view from the courtyard of Building 4. Coming up along College Avenue, these buildings will be set back and they'll be up on a hill a little bit, so the natural scenery will buffer the bottom. You will see the top 2 or 3 floors in here, but we don't think this is going to be imposing over top of College Avenue. And this is from the intersection of University and College as you're leaving. Again, you'll be able to see the buildings, but they should fit into the scenery nicely. Here is our site development, which shows our stormwater management ponds. We have 2 stormwater management ponds for this project, one on the south side along College Avenue, one on the west side along University Drive. Currently, the site drains into 4 different drainage areas. One goes to Bathgate, another goes to the stormwater management ponds that are there for the long-term parking, and then the drainage areas 3 and 4 to University Drive and College Avenue. We are going to direct all of this drainage to College Avenue and University Drive so that will reduce the impacts on Bathgate Dam and the long-term parking facilities. So what we'll have is that about a 1-acre pond that will dewater. So when I say pond, they're not holding water all the time. They do water within 72 hours of the storm. They will release flow at or below the rates that are there today. So anything downstream will have a positive impact. There'll be less water coming downstream, both in rate and in volume. And then you can see we have that interior courtyard there. The legacy trees are saved, and we have some student gathering places in there. The traffic impact, we did study pedestrian traffic as part of the traffic impact study. We anticipate students crossing at the Hastings and University Drive intersection, as well as there's a pedestrian crosswalk closer up to Curtin Road that we believe everybody will be using. There are 2 bus stations, one on Hastings Road and one on University Drive. We do have the connectivity for sidewalks, bike storage, parking. We're going to have 1 parking spot for every 2 students, so 1,505 beds will get us about 753 parking spaces. 353 of those spaces will be on property. The other 400 will be leased from Penn State to the Greystar development to be devoted to the Greystar development. A portion of those will be in College Township. I know that was really quick. I think the slide to focus on is this one here. It shows how we're managing the stormwater reducing flows to your existing back gate facility, collecting the flows in the western and southern portions of the property, releasing them at flows that are equal to or less than today's flows.
Additional comments from staff or questions?
I think he covered it. The Planning Commission, as I noted, saw this on November 18th, and they just wanted to confirm with them that the stormwater post-construction runoff will be reduced compared to what is existing. And we did provide some staff comments to the borough and to HRG. Then the borough's Planning Commission and Design Review Board were going to review the plan this week.
We presented to both the Design Review Board and Planning Commission this week. Stormwater management has been submitted to State College Borough, College Township, PennDOT, and DEP for their reviews.
Okay. Adam, anything?
Nothing to add.
Okay. Tracy? Rich?
Yes. So first, thank you for incorporating the bike path, you and Penn State and Gray Star. That's an important element for us.
Yes.
So nice to see it on the front end versus asking for it on the back end. Appreciated the renderings. Those were very helpful, especially the ones on College Avenue to get that perspective and everything. So greatly appreciate that. The stormwater is a sensitive item in there. Indicated you're taking multiple outflows and directing all to College Avenue.
So there are a small amount of flow that goes to Bathgate right now, a small amount that goes to the long-term parking facilities. We are directing the majority of it to the south and the west. Those do have 5 different discharge points, so we're not discharging it in one location. They'll be spread along 5 different outlets along those areas.
Okay. I'm looking at the drawing in our pack. It's the landscape and lighting plan, and I'm not finding it in the key. There's a little, and I think you show it in there. There's a little gray area out of each of the catch basins. What exactly is that?
Those are the emergency spillways.
Okay.
So if it would become clogged, we have a way to direct it directly to an outlet without causing downstream damage.
The gray boxes?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
One's a lot bigger than the rest of them.
Correct. Yeah, the southern stormwater basin is bigger. The basin is much larger, so this emergency spillway is larger as well, yeah.
Yeah, I think this is a potential example. We talked, sometimes development's a good thing from a stormwater standpoint.
We hope it improves everything
Yeah.
downstream, yes.
So, that's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, improving situation at Bathgate is music to our ears for sure. That's been a problem for as long as I've been around.
Yeah, we thought that was a good thing to take some flow away from the back end this time.
Yeah. On that, is this a UPD district?
Yes.
It is
So
UPD, Sub-District 5, yes.
You could have dealt with stormwater off-site. It was just better or easier to do it within this site?
I think it's more appropriate to do it on-site. This is a specific public-private development where Greystar is going to be responsible for the
Okay.
management, maintenance.
Yeah. That makes sense now. It's a slightly different situation than most of the university
Correct.
development
Yeah.
around it.
Yep.
And then Rich mentioned the path for campus. Am I to understand it's being built as part of this, the part that's on the property?
It's being built separately. I believe
Yeah.
that the,
No, the sidewalks that you see on the plan are their in-house sidewalks. It's not part of our path to campus.
All right, the line that was traced as part of the development then was showing.
That was the site that they're doing. It wasn't our path. Our path will go south of
correct.
Okay,
Then
all
our
the
interior
buildings.
bike path will connect up at University and Hastings to where your bike path comes up from the south.
okay, so nothing has changed since our discussion a few months ago about the alternatives. Nothing here
No.
complicates that or prevents.
No, I think it reflects
our intentions
Yeah.
Okay.
after that previous meeting.
We've been having monthly meetings with them over the past 6-8 months maybe. And so we've kept them up to date on that discussion that was had at council that evening and just anything else that's been happening, especially related to the Path to Campus.
This is a big deal for us.
Sure, yeah, it's a nice project.
So just to make sure, there's still going to be an interconnect then between ours as we swoop down below and the sidewalk? Because the sidewalk just kind of
We'll still be tying into the sidewalk at Hastings.
Okay, but not until you get to Hastings?
Yes.
Okay,
And that our sidewalk will tie in at the same place, so that your sidewalk will come up from the south, Hastings will come in from the east, and then ours will come up diagonally in between.
right. But there'll be no opportunity to break off from the bike path and enter the site until you get to Hastings?
That's correct.
And that's due to grade or?
Yes.
Yep.
Plus potentially phasing. Look like
That's right.
the lower
That is
half
true.
is second phase.
Yeah, and maybe you could share that with us now that we have the plan up there. This is going to be done in 2 phases, or planned to be done in 2 phases?
This year, we're going to start construction in 2026. The first students will arrive in August of 2028, and the second set of students in August of 2029.
And they'll be housed in the buildings bordering on Hastings?
The first phase will be along Hastings, second phase will be the ones along University and College.
And then as far as our action goes tonight, we have a traffic study and a stormwater study that's both been submitted and comments provided. Obviously, nothing is,
Yeah, we've submitted a couple of stormwater comments to the borough for their further consideration. Traffic has been addressed and approved.
The traffic's been approved. There is a condition on the traffic study that in 12 to 15 months after full development, we will reevaluate that traffic impact study to make sure that the assumptions in there were correct. And if they're not, we will re-examine that traffic impact study.
Is that a note on the plan?
It is on note on the plan.
It's a note on the plan. Okay,
It'll be recorded that way.
very nice.
you know, kind of sounds like a condition we ought to we have with every plan.
I wasn't saying that quite so loudly, but
It wouldn't
yes.
be a bad idea.
Okay, then as far as tonight goes, we would be we're looking to tentatively approve the land, conditionally approve the land development plan. And I noticed from staff there was a recommended condition that should the borough's process change anything significantly, we would get another shot at this?
Yes.
Is that correct? Is that how I interpret that?
That's accurate, yes.
Okay, and then having said that, obviously, much of the plan is in the borough, but if anyone here, Tracy or Rich or staff, has any serious heartburn with the rest of it, we could provide that as comments to the borough. I don't, Rich and Tracy.
I do not.
Just wanted to make sure you understood that.
Great.
The whole
Yes.
thing's fair game as far as comments go.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, if there isn't any further discussion needed here, the chair is certainly open to entertaining a motion.
Mr. Chair, I recommend council move to approve the stormwater management and traffic study elements of the Hastings and University Student Housing Facility Final Land Development Plan dated October 20th, 2025, and last revised November 10th, 2025, subject to the following conditions. Within 90 days from the date of approval by council, all conditions must be satisfied, final signatures must be obtained, and the plan must be recorded with the Center County Recorder of Deeds Office. Failure to meet the 90-day recordation time requirement will render the plan null and void. 2, pay all outstanding review fees. 3, address to the satisfaction of the township engineer any outstanding plan review comments from staff. 4, fully comply with the College Township Code Section 180-12. 5, this action assumes that no major changes result from reviews by the State College Borough Design Review Board or State College Borough Planning Commission. If significant changes occur, the revised plan will be presented to College Township for reconsideration and approval. And finally, all conditions must be accepted in writing within 7 days from the date of the conditional approval letter from the township engineer.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second?
All right, we have a motion. Before I can call for the vote, I have to offer the opportunity for anybody in attendance here online to comment. I'm looking online, I see we have a few folks, and I'm looking in the room. Anyone wish to address council before we take action on this?
There are no hands up online.
Okay. All right, then all in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. Good luck with the project, and hopefully we won't see you back. That mean
I
that
appreciate it.
things went well at the borough.
Yep, all right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's the only plan we had tonight. Takes us to reports. We have a manager's report. Is the only report that made the original agenda. I sent out my MPO report just earlier today. Does the manager have anything beyond what's in his report?
No, the only thing that I will note is that there was a solar group meeting yesterday, and I do not have an update yet. So we'll get that to you at our next meeting.
So that was just a tease.
It was.
All right, questions for the manager?
Based on that.
All right. Like I said, I sent out my MPO report. Actually, I sent out the MPO's MPO report. Nothing really to offer beyond what was in the report. COG Regional County and Liaison Reports. I did not prepare my cheat sheet, so we'll just go around the table for COG Liaison Reports. HR did not meet. Rich?
COG's Parks Governance did meet the day before Thanksgiving. Unfortunately, we were not able to do our final review of the intergovernment agreement because the COG solicitor had not finished his review yet. So we're hoping to have a 10-minute meeting in December that we might be able to push that out and get it to the municipalities and the authority for the final reviews. We did, however, use the opportunity to review the draft maintenance agreement that we are recommending that occur between the Parks and Rec agency and the municipalities for each of their individual parks. A couple different methods being applied with that. We finished up the draft, and the next level of review is COG staff is going to review with whomever is the parks rep at each of the municipalities to get feedback. And then once we get that, we'll review, finalize again, and hope to send out for final review and potential approval. We also took a quick look at the authority bylaws for a first round and made some comments and recommendations, and we'll be reviewing a revised draft of that at our next, probably in January or February.
All right. Questions for Rich? No? All right. That concludes COG regional reports. As far as county and liaison reports, do we have any liaison reports? Janet, we'll get to parks after this, but any liaison reports? No? Okay. Then that takes us to staff, PC, and other committee reports. I see we have our trusted PC liaison here tonight, Matt.
Yeah, I'm Matt Fenton from the Planning Commission. On Tuesday night, we recommended for approval the PAM State College subdivision plan. Keep in mind, this is just a subdivision plan. It's like 5.9 acres. It was by unanimous vote. We also discussed the upcoming 2027 2026 joint meeting for form-based code. Anybody have any questions on that?
Did you discuss that you'd like to have one?
Well, just more the date, yeah.
Okay. Oh, the date. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So when they settle on a date, will we get an opportunity to chime in on that, or?
Yeah, I think Katie will be sending something around for everyone, just a doodle, however it's usually done, and we'll get something established in January. Let's hope. coming fast.
Yeah.
Too fast.
We've presented the planning commission with pretty much everything we've done to date. And we rehashed a few things, height, some parking, but we have a pretty good recommendation, at least for a major portion of the ordinance for council to review jointly with PC coming up.
Questions for Matt? Rich? No. Appreciate the heavy lifting PC's been doing this year.
Per protocol too, I asked my wife what she wanted for Christmas, and she said that nothing would make me happier than a diamond necklace, so I bought nothing. And secondly, you wonder where I get my material from. It's the holiday season. What do you call a wreath made of $100 bills? Go ahead, Mark.
It's a wreath of Franklins.
So that's where I get some of my material.
I knew that would sound familiar, Mark.
Thanks, Matt. Janet, anything on Park and Rec? Or Parks? I'm sorry.
The Parks and Rec Committee is not meeting in December, but I can report that by the end of November, township staff had completed the bridge, Thompson's Woods Bridge bicycle ramp project. So that is in place and done.
Outstanding.
That's it.
You can take that off the manager's report?
Hey, are we nimble and responsive or what? Thank you, Janet. Questions for Janet?
You're welcome. Yes?
Nope, that's it. All right.
Yeah.
Any other committee reports that I missed? No? All right, that takes us to Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging Report. Mike's not here. Do we have anybody filling in for him?
I happen to have a list, so I'm pleased to be able to provide the report for December. World AIDS Day was December 1st. International Day of Persons with Disabilities was December 3rd. Hanukkah begins on the evening of December 14th and ends December 22nd. International Human Solidarity Day is December 20th. Christmas is December 25th. Kwanzaa begins on December 26th and ends on January 1st. As far as awareness and observation months, December is the Universal Human Rights Month and HIV/AIDS Awareness Month. That is the report that I have this evening.
Thank you, Adam. This agenda item is also an opportunity for anyone to address council on diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging issue. Looking first online, looking in the room, seeing none. That closes out reports, and that takes us to the consent agenda. Tonight's consent agenda includes two of the three normal items in two of the three normal categories. The first being minutes, CA1 minutes includes CA1 includes one set of minutes, CA1A. They are the College Township Council regular meeting minutes from our November 20th, 2025 meeting. CA2 correspondence includes 5 items. CA2A is an email from Ash Turnance dated November 17th, 2025 regarding his resignation from the Planning Commission. CA2B is an email from Dan Materna dated November 19th, 2025 regarding the casino. CA2C is an email from Dan Materna dated November 20th, 2025 regarding the casino. CA2D is a letter from Comcast dated November 19th, 2025 regarding rate increases. And CA2E is a letter from Rule 22 Recovery and Wellness dated December 1st, 2025 requesting financial support. There are no items under CA3 action items. Do any members of council wish to pull any of these items for discussion prior to accepting the consent agenda?
CA E, 2E.
CA2E. Anything else? All right, the chair will entertain a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented minus CA2E.
So moved.
So moved, do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion, comments before action? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, consent agenda minus CA2E is accepted and adopted. CA2E, letter from Rural 62, requesting, I guess, financial support.
Right.
Does staff have anything to offer beyond what's on that one, beyond what's in the letter, the request letter?
Now, I had met with the letter writer previously and suggested that he reduce some of the comments and concerns that he expressed in writing to council. And that has resulted in this correspondence coming in and part of your packet this evening. Essentially, this has been very much a grassroots initiative. They have over time, they've met for 20 or 30 years now. They've been an ongoing concern. They have organized as a 501c3 during that time. And essentially, they've reached a point with the number of members and also with the cost of meeting space where they really are not able to sustain this initiative on their own anymore. It's always been done by passing of the hat of members that attend for these recovery services. And that's really just no longer able to address the issues, given the fact that they have to lease their own space in order to provide that meeting area. So as a result of the conversation, I encouraged them to reach out to council, let them know about the organization, and to make the request. And currently, as I understand it, this entity does in fact meet within College Township proper. I'm sorry, I don't offhand it's in Regent Court. Yeah, they're in Regent Court at the moment. And they've been there for a few years at this point. So they have actually, for most of their longevity, have actually been within the College Township area. So that is the request. That's the additional that I can provide. I may be able to answer some questions here. One of the unique things here is, while this is typically a substance abuse recovery type program, there are parallels with gambling addictions and things of that nature, and so there may be some opportunity here in terms of what College Township is looking to do within the upcoming budget.
Okay. As Adam noted, it is noted in the letter that where it's requested that some of those funds be considered to be directed to them. What do we have line items now in the draft budget. Is it LSAT or LST? What is the?
The LST portion,
Okay,
local share.
LSA.
LSA, local share account.
Okay, so there appears to be a line item in there that may align with the purpose for those funds. So at what point would we, tonight we're accepting the request. I suppose if there was a consensus here, we could consider that as a line item, as an expense from that line item, and that would be done at the staff level after we adopt the budget?
Yeah, essentially this evening, we're going to be talking about adoption of the draft or the preliminary budget this evening. Final budget would be drafted, or I'm sorry, not drafted, would be approved by council later this year. During that interim time, council has the ability to make changes during the time that it's out for public inspection, those 20-plus days. And so we can, if it was something that council was interested in including and incorporating into the 26 budget, we certainly have the opportunity to do so during that 20-day period until the final adoption.
Okay, is there an existing line item in the draft budget that this would already fit under?
I understand that there was an additional line item that was added to the LSA preliminary during the workshop session. And on that basis, unless it was identified for something more specific, I would tend to think that we do have some latitude there.
Okay.
Was that miscellaneous?
Yeah, I don't know that we added one,
We just added
add
one.
more money to it,
Oh, okay,
That was
very
under-
good.
That was under miscellaneous.
yes.
Very good, very good. Then absolutely, yes, you have the ability to do that.
Okay. We didn't talk about this at the work session. We just talked about establishing those line item subjects. It was, I thought, understood that staff would make determinations and possibly recommendations. And we don't normally approve expenditures in those individual line items on a case-by-case basis. Would we be doing that with this?
Perhaps initially we would.
Because this is where this, this is where we're going with this.
Yeah, I think perhaps initially that council would in fact be making final decisions on that until we have developed a little bit of a pattern or have focused on a particular area or areas where we want to try to direct those funds over the course of a couple of years. That would, to me, make sense to ensure that not every single request that is received is funded, but that council is able to better direct those in a manner that they think is appropriate.
Okay. That sound good?
Yes, the only thing I would offer, the miscellaneous line item is under cultural recreation. Headlined as cultural recreation, I don't know that that's.
Right.
There was, you may have to refresh my recollection.
Public safety, there's public safety, capital infrastructure, cultural recreation, community development, and economic development.
Wasn't there a, there were some individual line items that
Yes.
kind of came under community health initiatives?
Yeah, those are up under public safety. There's health kind of well-being initiative.
Okay, well-being initiatives.
Yes.
Okay.
So that may be and we don't have specific allocations to those. So, and there's currently in the draft budget 15,000 in
Okay.
that, which I think allows for some decisions.
I was just wondering, when you had the conversation with the representative, did you get an inkling that this was going to be something they would continue to ask year to year, or?
Not specifically, but I certainly wouldn't be surprised
Okay.
if it was an annual kind of a request.
And was there any, it makes a tie to the, currently it's under substance abuse disorder, which is the alcohol and drugs and stuff, but they're considering an expansion of their services? Is that what the gist of this is?
That is a little unclear. I think that the connection was made that oftentimes a alcohol issue corresponds with
Right.
a gambling issue. But I was not clear that there was going to be a specific offshoot relative to gambling.
So, Mr. Chair, I would just offer, I think we have flexibility in our draft budget to consider this, but we have some answers, I think, that we need to get before, you know, making any type of commitment to it. I mean, one of them, what's the ask? You know, how much, what is being asked of us and everything. So, but and then you know, what was the reference with I don't need the gambling tie-in to know that this is a good thing for members of our community. So,
Just to your point, it does say in it says 12-step programs are proven helpful in addressing the behavioral issues associated with gambling. So I guess it's encompassing that as well. But yeah, I agree.
yeah, you can be a gambling addict and not be an alcoholic,
Right.
and you can be an alcoholic and not be a gambling. You know, there's
Or
still,
both.
Yes,
Or both.
or you can win the lottery there. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So as Rich noted, it sounds like we have the structure in place to respond to this. We'll wait and see if we get the budget through as proposed. We'll wait and see in the new year. We'll reevaluate the requests as they come in, and this will be one. This will be probably the first one.
All right, very good. I will get a few answers relative to what type of a contribution in terms of value, and then also whether or not this is a one-time or going to be an annual. Very good, thank you.
All right, if we're comfortable with that, then the chair will accept a motion to accept CA2E as presented from the consent agenda.
So moved.
Do I have a second? Discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. That completes the consent agenda, and that takes us to old business. Tonight we have one item under old business, and that is ordinance revisions regarding signage. It's listed as a potential action item, but it appears it's mostly for discussion.
I'd say more so discussion than action tonight.
My understanding is we're just going to take a bite of a section of this.
That's kind of how we're seeing it. I mean, we introduced this to council. It got remanded to the planning commission. They made the recommendation back to council. Council had a few questions and needed more information, and we brought that back. We also have Penn State who requested some more information as well. So we wanted to kind of do this in steps, and the tonight's step is to give you a baseline understanding of the sign ordinance as it stands right now and how it's administered. So Mark is here, of course. He's the sign guru and administers the ordinance. And we've just been working together to make sure that we can sort of balance, you know, preserving our community character, maintaining public safety, and accommodating what the Penn State has requested from us. So in front of you is a memo. It talks a little bit about the Planning Commission's discussion and recommendation, which is mostly just related to definitions and the portion that we would increase signage, allowable signage by 10% for each 5,000 persons. Council had some discussion, including lighting and illumination, height restrictions, occupancy, directional signage, and art. So Mark and I also have discussed those and are prepared to answer any questions that you may have. But incorporated into the memo is a table that shows the section of the sign ordinance, the title, and then just a brief overview of what is in that section. And a lot of the things that we talked about and have been brought up over the past couple of weeks when we discuss signs can be found in the table and also can be found by asking Mark and I questions. So with that, we'll
All right,
look forward to
Lindsay,
the discussion.
before we start there, under the PC discussion, there are some kind of general recommendations. And it appears that there's a letter then from Penn State in response to those recommendations. Am I reading this correctly?
That's how I see it. I feel they watched the PC meeting, we gave them an update, and that they responded with the letter.
Okay. So tonight we're going to get kind of a review of the sign ordinance from our sign guru. And then can we circle back then to maybe what Penn State, reconcile Penn State's concerns with where we're at with the PC?
Yep, absolutely.
And that would be progress for tonight?
Yeah, I think so. We can get them some answers.
Yeah, I think that the explanations and the walkthrough that staff is going to provide is going to lead council to the ability to begin to address the
Okay.
issues that were brought up by Penn State.
All right.
So I'm just going to look through the council discussion and
Do you want me to just kind of touch through these? That's what we wanted to mainly address, some of the things that council brought up. The first bullet point, the lighting and illumination standards, that is currently, we do currently have that covered in our ordinance with the, whatever a nit is. I did some research, and I don't expect me to explain it to you, but the light measurement, those are already called out in our ordinance for daylight and nighttime thresholds, maximum thresholds. Lindsay did Google best practices, and what we have in our ordinance currently is very consistent with what she found for under best practices for these. Height restrictions, we had some concerns from council about high signs illuminated with the bonus that would be provided. Currently, our ordinance allows signs to be placed at the top of any building. What I would propose that would maybe help alleviate some of these concerns, we discussed as far as a piece in this ordinance, any event center, stadium arena event center, utilizing the sign bonus, all illuminated signs would be limited to, pick a height, I said 60 feet from average grade. So were it to be at the stadium, they choose to use the additional sign bonus, none of their illuminated signs would be able to be above about half height of the stadium. Be interested how council views something like that notion. Feel free to wiggle with the height allowed. I just figured that's roughly a 4-story. Back when we redid the sign ordinance coming through Planning Commission and Council, one of the things that was changed was we used to cap the height of any sign. When we revised the ordinance several years ago, now a sign is allowed to the top of a building. A hotel, I don't know that we have any over 4 stories, and Planning Commission felt it was important to have some visibility for things like that. That's where I kind of came with I just pulled out of a hat the 60-foot range, which would keep it consistent with pretty much the maximum of what we allow anywhere else right now.
Because we don't have anything higher than 60 feet.
Right.
Yes. The occupancy thing, that was an oversight on my part when we came up with this bonus. I do realize there's a difference. My intention was fixed seating. That's easy enough for us to change from 5,000 occupancy to every 5,000 fixed seats. I think that's an easy change to make to get there. And as far as art, this has been one of my authorities as the zoning officer, is to read the ordinance, interpret the best I can with everything I have. As far as whether I'm determining whether something is art or not, I feel very comfortable making a reasonable and sound interpretation and differentiating. And I would also have no objection if council wanted some type of board to review if someone can test this. But if I were to make a decision and deny something and say this is not art, we currently have the zoning hearing board in place for step 1. we discussed earlier with the area plan, some of these potential administrative waivers, where I would be given the authority to waive things like setbacks, heights, things of that sort, and I discussed with council, that is something I feel should go a level above me, because that's a pretty consequential thing. As far as art, I feel comfortable running as I have, trying to be as consistent as possible with everyone I deal with, because art and signs are much less consequential than building heights and setbacks and things of that sort. So that kind of rolls us through that pretty quickly.
Yeah, the intent here was to respond a bit to the PC recommendations and council's questions. Let's tackle that before we go beyond that. Let's take those one at a time and see if, as far as the lighting goes, let's offer opportunity to ask questions. And let me just ask for clarification. This came up in the council meeting. We measure lighting or light trespass generally at the property line. And given that property line is way far away from the stadium, what did we end up deciding would be the mechanism, or the boundary for measuring that? Was it the roads?
We never did, but we go back to our illumination standards. We have the light trespass. If there were concerns about it appearing to be overly illuminated, that would be upon the township to secure an engineering firm that could do those actual measurements. I can measure light trespass. We have the equipment to do that. We don't have the equipment to measure a nit, which is essentially equivalent to candle power.
But what I'm asking is, where would you measure light trespass?
The point of measurement.
Yeah.
I'm not a lighting engineer. This is something that.
I mean, the boundary of the UPD district would be the only logical place to do so. Now, I'm using Beaver Stadium as the example here. Beaver Stadium is within a UPD district. The UPD district, there are multiple UPD districts. And I think at any of the boundaries of a UPD district with another municipal zoning designated boundary would be the appropriate place to measure the lighting. Because the UPD is in essence a sub-district within our own existing zoning district. And we have to make the assumption that if, in this particular case, if the university is aligned with the brightness of a particular venue, in this case Beaver Stadium, that it is not an issue throughout the entirety of that UPD conglomerate district.
Yeah, no, and I agree. I just was wondering, because that's a little different than what you would do anywhere else in the township. You'd stand at the property line, and that's where you would.
Some of the best practices we looked up, it said keep the light within 500 feet. So, from residential areas. And of course, as you noted with the UPD, that boundary is huge, and so is the property line. But some of the things that if we can't, if that's not going to make a difference, you can limit the height, and you could buffer, add screening, things like that. There were other opportunities, rather than just that distance and that measurement, but there are some other things that you can do to sort of alleviate that glare, that brightness.
Okay, other lighting questions?
I think you have both. And this ordinance is not just for Penn State, so we need to identify for non-UPD and UPD potentially. I think that would be important, because non-UPD, I think it would be the property line. I think would be the UPD, I agree. I think that's almost a change, well, it's a change in zoning district, but called out as different. Same as Beaver Stadium is different. But the reality is somebody could put a stadium somewhere else in.
Sure, absolutely. I mean,
Rockford.
as the ordinance is written now, and Mark knows this and can correct me when I go astray. We do measure it down at property lines now for light trespass. Okay. Yeah, the property lines typically are not the size of a UPD district.
Right, I'm saying we need to add something for the UPD.
And
to
that's why I
distinguish.
brought it up, because
Yeah.
this is a different animal.
Yeah, I mean, you, just to put it in perspective, I mean, the UPD district in College Township is over 3,200 acres.
Right.
I mean, it's an enormous size. Now, it's comprised of different districts there, but that is your UPD. It's 3,000 plus acres. And most other property lots that we deal with clearly are not 3,000 acres in size.
Yeah, and I actually was under the understanding, I thought more of the concern was not the light trespass, it was more of the intensities. And we do have something in place to regulate light intensity now. We don't have the ability for us to personally measure it, but if there is a concern, we do have engineering firms in the area that would be able to measure those intensities. Our current ordinance requirements, when you get one of these digital signs, one of these video type signs, they are required to submit with that documentation that this is the maximum it will do at this time, this is the maximum it will do at that time. Shall there be a malfunction, it will automatically revert to this level. We already have that built in to deal with any of the intensity issues we would have.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think one of the concerns that Susan had, and she asked me to bring up again, was with the type of lighting and the illumination, the health risk factors. Is that what you're speaking of?
Yes, the intensity
Okay.
of the illumination. You know, we have street lights, we have,
Right.
you know, you're not going to get away from some, you know, artificial light need for it. And from what little, and I'm not an expert on a lot of this, but I believe most of what Lindsay found something today while we were going over preparing, and I believe it dealt with the intensity, dealing with is one of the artificial light.
Yeah,
Is the bigger contributing factor.
Yeah, we deal with the intensity. What we don't deal with is color, right? I mean, that's one thing that our ordinance doesn't make a distinction on relative to color. And I understand that some of the concerns that Ms. Trainer had brought up had to do with specifically the blue light kind of issue. That is something that is absent from our ordinance now. We do regulate intensity, but we do not address color of light. So I don't have a better answer for you than that.
Gotcha.
Well, that's why we're having this
Yeah.
discussion.
I think it would be groundbreaking because I haven't found any ordinances while trying to research that regulate light color.
Okay, then to summarize, we have a mechanism in place already for measuring, regulating light intensity
Yes.
and enforcing it. It doesn't extend to color, but that already exists. And that would carry over, that's not changing
Correct.
with this. As far as light trespass, this is the only reason I brought it up, not because I think it's a big issue. I just know that we don't, we regulate that differently at the property line everywhere else, and, you know, this is a different situation, so, if, you know, if, I'm fine with the UPD boundary, if that's what we think makes the most sense, because, you know, next to the stadium is the parking lot, you know, for events, so it's gonna be lit. Does it matter if some of that lighting extends into the parking lot? Probably helpful.
Well,
But there's not a
and-
property line there.
And
Right.
there are currently, those portable light stands scattered out throughout
Right.
the perimeter around the stadium so people can see.
And I'm sure that lighting extends across the road, but it's all the same property.
Yes.
So that's all I was meant to bring up, is that we'll have to define that in some way in this ordinance, or cite the exception for the UPD district.
Yeah, I think that's, one good thing that came, one of the things that came out of this discussion that we'll have to go and research a little more and see exactly how we can do that and differentiate between the UPD and, because this isn't just for the UPD, it's
Right.
township-wide.
Okay, other questions or comments on lighting?
Well, and perhaps we look at UPD, are all UPD districts created the same? Are there some that, some of them border onto residential neighborhoods and things, or whatever like that. And I don't have any off the top of my head, I'm just saying now's the time to look at it. If there's something we want to do a little different in different UPD districts, we have the opportunity, it seems, at this point.
So yeah, like if the UPD district is just directly adjacent to a residential area, then that would be
Or
treated a
something,
little
yeah.
bit differently.
Or a different kind of, even the dorms, maybe you will have a different standard in dorm areas, different than the stadium areas, or the ag areas, or whatever like that. It's just something we've not looked at, and just, maybe something for consideration.
Okay, the next item had to do with height restriction, and we appeared to be some heartburn the last meeting over illuminated signs as high as the height of the building, and in this case, the building is much higher than what we see anywhere else in the township. The staff suggestion was that the illuminated signs be limited to this maximum height we allow any other buildings in the township. That's probably a good starting point for discussion. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, we will see when this hospital is done.
Right.
We have already issued their signed permits. There will be, at the very top of that building, it's a tall building. And I don't know that we want to, those are gonna be very few and one-off. But my thought is if you want to take advantage of the additional signage, then none of your illuminated, we could put that condition. If Penn State wanted to keep their flat base rate, they could put something at the top, but they don't want that. They want more signage, so if you want more signage, your illuminated cannot exceed a certain height level. And I think that would be a reasonable thing. If you're getting the bonus, we're throwing an extra rule in that no one else has.
Does everybody understand that?
Mm-hmm. So then, yeah,
I
if,
don't know if I agree with it.
Right. Well, and that's why it's here for discussion.
yeah, so if you're, and that's how you can apply, limit your height restrictions, to kind of lessen the impact around it. Because if you have a 90-foot digital sign, it's definitely gonna have more of an impact on surrounding.
What staff tried to do was to solve for what appeared to be the issue that was discussed when we last had this conversation, which was how much illuminated signage would folks be subjected to on a venue such as Beaver Stadium, given the fact that it's 110 feet tall. And so this, the recommendations or the suggestions that you're hearing back from staff are all kind of predicated on trying to find a way to address that particular issue. But Mark points out very accurately that while at the moment we generally don't have more than 4-story buildings with signage in place, as soon as the certificate of occupancy is issued for the hospital, we've already authorized the hospital, they will be able to have a sign at the top of their building.
Illuminated.
If they choose to illuminate it.
They choose,
Yes.
right. So backlit, whatever, yes. That said, that standard that we have used over time will now change as the township changes, as buildings get taller, as densities increase. And this will be an issue that we run into also in form-based code as well in the Dale Summit area, presumably over time. You'll have somewhat higher buildings, you'll have the ability to have signage at a somewhat higher level than what we typically do at the moment. So now, again, the hospital areas in Dale Summit are not necessarily entertainment venues or stadiums
Stadiums, arenas, or event centers.
or arenas or event centers. That said, there would be those caveats.
Yeah, they would be capped at our current rates. And I guess reference the Mount Nittany Medical Center, a good example. Discussions with them during the signage. Their square footage of signage was calculated based on the square footage of their gross floor area. There is still potential that the hospital could demolish portions of that existing older building, the oldest portion. They're not sure what they're going to do with it. They were advised, should that gross floor area decrease, their sign area will decrease with it. So they were advised of that on the front end, because that is one potential for part of the oldest part of that building.
Okay, questions, comments for Mark on the signage?
For the height restriction, I understand what we're trying to accomplish, and again, Beaver Stadium's a little different and everything. But I think the big thing, I think about, as driving up here, I saw the bat signal follow over towards the building and stuff. I think that the key concerns about those heights is potentially the type of sign, like we don't want moving. No, anything of that above a certain height, and the intensity of it. You know, like you could have a lower intensity and higher and stuff like that. And then another mechanism potentially is a percent, not to exceed a percent of total available above a certain height. You know, like the 60 feet that you're saying. You know, like reduce the amount that can be up high. It can be up high, but it can be limited. You can't put all your signage up high or something like that.
Right.
Yes.
Just as a potential tool.
And a reminder, when you saw the draft suggested ordinance, there's already a caveat that we put in there that only the base signage allowance can be illuminated, no more, and they may only be illuminated 12 hours before or after an event at the stadium. So it should solve a lot of that, where that stadium, we wouldn't look out your window today here and see everything lit up, because they're limited to 12 hours before or after an event at that venue.
And that number can be adjusted as well.
Right, and I guess I personally like the bat signal to come up,
Yeah.
and then there's no event tomorrow there, kind of thing. But so there is a balance.
Well, the bat signals are off the table. That's a whole separate
That's a whole
thing that's
separate thing.
existing,
Okay.
and that's something we can't touch at this point. But we
You
can
know what bat
prevent
signal is?
more.
It's the chipmunk, or it's the,
Line-
I didn't want to say that.
It's the Nittany
sorry,
line.
Julie.
It's the lion emblem on the top of the stadium.
Thank you.
Yeah.
all right.
So can you explain to me this 12-hour thing? Like, you say 12 hours before an event or 12 hours after. That just seems like a lot of hours.
Well, I think we touched base on this before. I mean, a big reason that Penn State has come forward and requested expansion of the signage is, you know, the driver for this whole thing, there's a lot of money involved
They're in the middle of a $700 million stadium renovation. They need to pay for that. They have donors and sponsors that, want to put their name different places, and that's what's helping to fund this. That's creating this venue to bring all the people to this area and spend money.
I mean, it's up for discussion, everything is,
Yeah.
it's just a draft now,
It's pre and post activity. So,
Yes.
so essentially, you could very easily see a type of an event that may or may not be football related, that is held at the stadium, that they would choose to advertise in advance, kind of like the day before. And then also that could continue on even after the event itself for some period of time until that entire 24 hours was exhausted, correct?
So, on a football game day, a noon kickoff, those parking lots start filling up Thursday night with the campers. So if we did 12 hours before or after an event, if it's a noon kickoff, sorry, those don't go on until midnight Friday night, or you're in violation. And they're getting some benefit because these people, these different donors or whoever has their names on there, I mean, they're going to get the people out in the camper lots are going to see it. And when the noon kickoff ends at 4 in the afternoon, those things stay on till 4 in the morning while people are staying in the lots, tailgating, waiting for traffic to clear. We're trying to strike a balance to allow them to
Well, to maximize,
maximize
the
their
purpose of the
yes.
sign, yeah.
Yes.
Or some of the signs.
I still think that's a lot of hours, but okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say different people with different values on signage and how long it's on and all that good kind of stuff. And I think that, for me, I don't care that it's on, I care that it's obnoxious.
Right.
And so limitations on the intensity, type and intensity really drives me more than how long it's on. I'll give you an example. Hamilton Square, we require our tenants to use dusk to dawn with their tenant signs. And I would offer that we are not a nuisance and everything, and they sit about, I don't know, about 15 feet off the ground or whatever like that. But it's a marketing piece and everything like that. So there is different perspectives on it and everything.
there are some things out there we saw that you dim your lights at night to like 10 or 20% of what they're usually at.
Right.
So if it's 5,000 nits during the day, and in the night it's 500 maybe.
Or operational hours, and then you dial it
Yeah,
down.
when it's on, and then when the event's over, turn it off within a reasonable time.
Right. Yeah, and the type of sign, like parking lot lights, you some of them shut them off and they're saving nickels, but risking lives, so, but, it's the type of light, the purpose of the light, like the identification stuff. Who's gonna be trying to find the place at 4 o'clock in the morning, kind of
Yes.
thing, but, the safety and just blatant marketing stuff, the bat signal, it is, a little different animal and everything, so with technology, the way it's coming, you can put restrictions, like you just indicated, dialing it back. I mean, they're gonna be flashing the lights in the state, the whole stadium environment's gonna be changing when they redo it. Already is. You see some of the other stadiums, they shut them all off, turn it back on right away, and change colors and all this good kind of stuff. I'm worried about when they can do that kind of thing, because that is pretty intense.
Right, and I don't think that we, to this point, have
got it.
contemplated any of that. I mean, one of the things that I would prefer that we steer clear of, to the extent that we can, is in any way infringing on the, on the actual event itself.
Well, I think they have an opportunity because those are all inside.
Right.
As long as they
right.
don't bring the inside outside,
Gotcha.
I think we could be safe. But we need to say that,
Mm-hmm.
you know, kind of thing.
I think people get confused a little bit too with what is light trespass. Extreme example, you look out the window, you'll see a star that's far, far away. It's not, so we're seeing light, but it is not trespassing. Just like you can look out the window and see the lion logo, you can see it, it's illuminated, but that light is not trespassing out here to us. And I think some people do get some confusion with that as well. What exactly is light trespass?
Well, I'm not gonna I wanna go back to the 12-hour thing. I kinda like the idea that Rich threw out of the dusk to dawn. I know that does, I just don't think that it's effective when lights are on like 4 o'clock in the morning or midnight. Like, who's really seeing that? Like, if you're talking from a marketing standpoint, who's really seeing that? Most people are gonna see it between the hours of, like, when they're going to work and when they're heading home from work. Like, no one's really seeing that at 4 a.m. So I would personally like to see more of a restriction on when
Yeah,
they can.
Yeah, that was limited to only on because particularly with the stadium, there are thousands, if not tens of thousands of people in those parking lots from Thursday night till Sunday morning.
Yeah.
And
They're not gonna be looking at lights, they're doing other things.
We can,
Just saying, like, they're paying to do other things, like, they're paying a lot of money, not to look at a sign. But, I mean, honestly, yeah.
Right, I think that's at the crux of the whole thing, is they're putting a lot of money, the money is there, that they put there is there 24/7, 365.
Right.
So they want to see their name and stuff, but I still think there could be windows, parameters and.
We can look into a few other examples of different places
Mm-hmm.
and what their restrictions and their limitations are, definitely. Bring something back.
All right, so that we can keep moving here, I'm taking some notes. As far as the lighting and illumination, the only thing I heard really was council would be interested in knowing more or hearing about how you regulate intensity, because that seemed to be where the heartburn was the intensity. And as far as height goes, let's make sure I understood this correctly.
Could I offer one more on the lighting and illumination? I think movement of light,
Intensity of
changing of light colors and things like that.
Right.
Because technology lets you do a lot more with that nowadays.
And I did have a note here that said color, to the extent that staff believes there is, we would be out in front of everybody else. Just double check that to make sure there isn't some template out there that we could just glom onto in response to the concern of a blue light, or whatever color it was, that there was a concern of blue. And then as far as the height, going back to what Mark said, the only amount of signage that can be lit is the base allocation.
Yes,
The bonus signage is all unlit.
correct.
Okay. And we have the 12-hour limitation, and we're still regulating intensity with the base level signage regardless of what the height is. And then the last thing I would say is I think I understand we're going to have illuminated signs right next to Beaver Stadium that are higher than 60 feet. If I understood what you said about the hospital.
Yes.
Because, and we could in the future. The 60-foot was set because that's what most of the current township maximum height is. We need to think about that. About capping Beaver Stadium at 60 feet, and right next door is the hospital with illuminated sign at, 100 feet?
But the only difference is the hospital is within their parameters of their base allowance.
But But you said if we cap the illuminated, or we restricted illuminated signs to 60 feet, that's it. Nothing could be above 60 feet.
If the stadium would choose to go with their base allowance, they could put them at the top.
Okay.
If they want the bonus, then you get the bonus, but they have to come down to a lower level because of the additional signage that's being permitted.
Then I understand that better.
Yeah.
I do, I don't support it.
No,
but yes.
I don't either, but I just want to make sure I understood that. The base, everything would have to come down to 60 if you tap into any of the bonus.
Yes.
All illuminated signs.
Yes, illuminated.
Okay. I mean, I like where staff is going there with some trade-offs. I think we have to discuss that one, though.
And that's, we're open to anything. People may not like my thoughts on it. I think because of the uniqueness of it, I think what we have proposed is maybe a little strict, but it's so much more generous than what is currently allowed.
But we have to
So I
think,
think we're taking a step that way.
So the thing I think to remember is we're really talking about that kicking in with bonus signage.
Correct.
what kicks in with a bonus and what doesn't.
And I'll just restate, I am good with restrictions on high signs based on the type of sign, the intensity of the sign, and a percentage of the total. You can't have more than X above of whatever height that
We
was.
could try and come up with something with a total percentage of signage. And I think our ordinance already covers the intensity, it covers the flashing lights changing.
No, it is, I'm saying
Yeah.
if you put it up high, it's gotta be a lower intensity.
Right.
That's what I'm
So
trying to say.
this is the counter to staff.
Sure,
yeah.
Is
We get it.
we like the idea that you came up with something, and we're just tweaking it.
We'll look into, come up we can come up with
The
some.
higher
other
the sign, the lesser
ideas.
the intensity.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And that would apply to bonus signage and everything, if I understand
Yes,
what you're
that's
saying.
what we're just saying.
And it's township wide, so we have to consider that
Yes.
too. 'Cause
Yes.
how is 60 going, I mean, some of the height limits we currently propose in Dale Summit, the highest is maybe, I think, 6 stories. But a story can be, 12
Yes.
feet, 16 feet, we won't even get into that. But, it can vary, so is that
Relative
adequate?
grade, all that good stuff.
Yeah, is that an adequate number for township wide too? But
So does this
Almost.
approach actually make it easier than where we started, as far as the rest of the township goes? The regulating intensity, the higher you go.
Yeah, I mean, I think it may, yes. I think it's something that we may actually be able to find some other ordinances out there, some other jurisdictions that may in fact do something similar to that. The higher the sign, the lesser the intensity.
yes.
And if that's the case, yeah, I mean, I think it's a great avenue to explore.
Yeah.
And we came up with the shot
Yeah.
here.
No, that's great.
And it's done exactly what it was intended to do, which was to spur this conversation. And I think that we've got some things that we can look into that may even make more sense as we go forward.
All right, so that's the feedback on that. There seems to be consensus that we don't need to stop it at 60, even if you use the bonus, because the concern is not necessarily the height as much as it is the impact. Or what do you call it?
Intensity.
The annoying,
You have me thinking I may want to reach out to a lighting engineer and ask, hey, can I have an hour of your time, sit down consultation?
Yeah.
Work through some of this, it might be worthwhile, even if we have to pay for someone's time to get some expertise. Maybe even see if we could schedule someone to come in and meet with multiple staff members.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that could be very productive.
and especially if it's easier to apply township-wide, especially now that we're gonna see buildings higher than 60 feet.
I don't know why, the lighting company for Whitehall Road Park
Oh, that do the sports lighting.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah. They also work up here.
yes, they
too.
do, and that's.
They're
that's-
everywhere.
I mean, they're everywhere.
And
They
I-
are the subject matter experts on this.
Mo-
Does it start with an M? I don't
Musco.
know.
That's
Musco,
it.
thank you, thank you.
That is it, yep.
That's exactly it, yep.
Okay.
But
We'll look
they
into
might
that.
have somebody
All right, then-
to discuss.
As far as occupancy directional signage and art, anyone opposed to allowing our sign guru to become the art, continue being the art guru?
No problem. I think there's a recourse.
Yeah, there's
There's
recourse,
recourse in zoning hearing
and
board.
we've not been faced with many of those. Council provided back in the day an assist on the line logos on the scoreboards to clarify that that was going to be considered as art. But I know, for example, Maine, Bay, and Berry have a couple of lobsters that are out on the front of the building. And those lobsters, if they were considered to be signs, would have exceeded their allowed signage. Well, the determination was made that they're just lobsters, they're just there, they're affixed to the building, and they're not counted as a sign, they're counted as art. And
Although
I
they
think
do
that
sell
that's,
lobsters.
They do sell lobsters.
but they, well, I mean,
I'm
they
fine
do.
with that. I'm
No,
fine
no.
with
But,
that.
but
That's
the
great.
point is that, I mean, those are the two that I'm aware of, that we've had distinctions that we've needed to make. Do you know of any others?
No, like I said, I've had conversations with several entities discussing the possibility of murals on their building. And we had some pointed discussions, well, the mural is fine as long as, you know, we have a particular service center has actually spoken to me multiple times. We'd like to paint our building, the back of our building, to look like an old-time service station, you know, the old barn with the old gas pumps, and said, that's fine, but that building can't be labeled old-time with the big advertisement of, you know, so-and-so's garage. You can put a fictitious name on, but you're not advertising your own name on your mural. That turns it into a sign. Your guy under the hood of the car looking out cannot have the company logo on his, you know, trying to be as reasonable as possible, but still keep them within the ordinance. You're not sneaking in commercial advertisement in your mural. It can be auto service without putting your names on it, and it still does give them some advertising ability, but it is not direct commercial for a particular entity.
And if somebody comes in and tries to abuse that, then this council would probably give you the tools to.
And I'm, you know, the time very well may come that someone wants to take something to court, and I'm ready to do it. That's what the courts are for.
Yeah.
If,
Okay, so we've got feedback, I think adequate feedback under council discussion. So now the question is, how do we reconcile?
What is directional signage? What
Well, he kind of grouped those two together, I
Yeah,
thought.
the directional is, you know, emergency room that way.
Yeah.
Or, you know, yellow parking this way, blue
Okay.
park, I mean, some of those.
Wayfinding, directional.
Yes,
Yeah, we wanted
absolutely,
to
yep.
check the differences between both of those,
Good,
whereas
okay.
wayfinding is more, you know, something that's kind of a planned sign. You know, you have a sign here that directs, like for a trail, that directs you to the other trail that, you know, so it's like a gathering or a, you know, plan for signs, whereas directional signs are just that, like hospital that way, and they're not connected.
And we've
General
decided that we're going to leave that.
In the
discretion.
discretion.
And should an issue come up, we'll react accordingly.
That's fine.
So I think at this point then, what we should do is then reconcile the discussion to date, where we're at, with Penn State's comments and see if we've resolved any of those or if we need to have further discussion about some of their requests.
I don't know if Penn State's representative wants to speak.
Well, I think
There will be an
Yeah,
opportunity
okay,
right.
once we get into this.
Right.
So what I'd like to hear from staff is the feedback we got from Penn State.
Right.
And how that reconciles against where we've left off tonight in our discussion. Maybe we've resolved some of those issues through discussion. Maybe there'll be others that we need to continue to talk about. And if you can cover for me, we won't need to take, for a minute or two, we won't need to take a recess after this one.
Okay.
All right, so, go ahead, I'm just gonna step out.
Yeah,
So the cap, we didn't really touch on tonight, removing the 150% cap. But I believe one person or two people at PC were into removing the cap totally.
PC was kind of leaning towards a complete removal of the cap, and then it kind of reeled back. The initial recommendation with our initial presentation was capping it at 100%. Trying to be as restrictive as possible, and I commend Planning Commission for bumping it up. Personal opinion, we're gonna get, may never see another thing that's gonna be able to reach the fixed seating to go to 150% or more. And, you know, I have mixed feelings, but, you know, Beaver Stadium is an anomaly. You know, it's one of the top 3 or 4 largest seating stadiums in the country. I think something different and special, my personal feeling is I would have no problem if the cap were lifted completely. And anyone can keep increasing that 10% for every 5,000 fixed seats you have, because chances of seeing anything that's even going to meet the 100% are very slim.
I will offer until it's not unique. You know, an example, and I
Yes.
just throw it out, Rockview, 5,000 acres.
Sure.
You know, hey, let's have another stadium. You know, so.
Yeah, theoretically,
Yeah, theoretically, and that's, we live in that world a lot, and everything, so. But in general, with Beaver Stadium as an example, I don't see the exceptional concern. But I would offer that I liked what Penn State came back and said, hey, how about look at this? It's, you know, I forget what the difference was between what they were indicate.
600 square feet.
Artificial, let me say, will be limited to 2,400 square feet of signage rather than the nearly 3,000 square feet. 600 square feet of signage on Beaver Stadium would not faze me in the least. So whatever criteria that is being established for the 3,000, I personally have no objection to. But, I mean, just one thought. I don't think I'm in to take it all off, take it completely off, but a reasonable ceiling kind of thing.
You know, if,
You're back.
Okay,
yeah, so, I mean, if the cap were completely removed, Beaver Stadium as an example, I don't think they would go much beyond that 3,000 square feet. Because our sign ordinance is really very restrictive. The bigger you get, the smaller your additional allowance goes. It goes in levels. So,
was it thought that the cap was thought of independently of the tiered restrictions as you grow, and nobody really thought that there wouldn't be that much difference, or?
well, Penn State initially came in and didn't give us an exact number they wanted. They just wanted more. And it's kind of what was come up with after looking at other ordinances in other areas. Hey, that's kind of interesting. They increased their sign area based on seating. It seemed to work. And I didn't see anything that had, the couple that I found that did that did not show any kind of cap. And I threw the cap in there because I felt that council would want to see at least some base point, either work up or work down from. But to get to that 100%, you need 50,000 seats. You know, that's a 50, there's not a whole lot of stadiums, arenas, event centers that exceed 50,000. To get to this 150, that's 75,000 seats. That takes out a bulk of your Major League Baseball parks and NFL stadiums would not meet this threshold. So, you know, could there be another 110,000 seat venue placed here? There could, but the chances are pretty darn slim because there's only a couple of this magnitude in the country. And I guess I look at it, if someone wants to build that, we'll welcome them with what it's going to bring to the area. You can have your bonus.
Okay, so that I think what I'm hearing is the tiered stepping down as you get in capacity is enough of a limitation that we don't
Yes.
necessarily need the 150%. Because you're not going to get much more than that 150% using that formula.
Correct.
And it's an unnecessary step or restriction.
Yeah, it's an artificial
Yes.
ceiling.
It doesn't really doesn't do that much, right? I mean, there's,
Yeah, I think it's 6-1. Take it completely off or set it at a percentage that gets it to the 3,000
Instead
square
of
foot.
200%, 250.
but if
What I
that's
don't
the
know what it
case,
is.
then you don't even need it.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna hit that anyways with seats, right?
Well, I don't know. That's what I'm
That's what I
saying.
thought I heard. from
Yeah, I
Bob.
mean, currently Beaver Stadium has roughly like 900 to 950 square feet of signage that they're allowed. So it's, another 50%, you're looking at, like Rich said, that's 400, maybe 450 square feet of signage, which is nothing to go from, and
But to answer my question, if you use the seating tiers that we have, you know, as you add more seats, are you gonna get above 1,000 that way? 900 or 1,000?
or
Let's say you took out the 157 and you just used signage per seat, tiered down as you approach.
So how much signage do we get for each 5,000 seats?
10% of your base, and that base is determined on your gross floor area.
Okay.
So you could have a stadium that looked just like Beaver Stadium that would have more floor area or less. So we can't go on what it looks like as a structure. We go based on gross floor area is what determines it. And
So for
And
every
it-
5,000 seats,
they get
it's an additional 10% of
their
the
base.
gross floor area.
yeah, of their base for the gross floor area.
Do we know how many square feet of signage Beaver Stadium would get if we removed the 150% and went just by,
Okay, well, let's say.
just ballpark, just ballpark?
Penn
Well, let's-
State's memo actually references some numbers.
Yeah, it says the,
24,000, 2,400?
That's based on the 150. It treats the Beaver Stadium as a 75,000 seat arena as opposed to a 107,000 seat arena is what they're indicating.
Yeah, that's at the end of the third paragraph there.
I guess I'll just throw this in, I used to say in planning, it's easier to lighten up than to tighten up. So putting some type of cap that achieves what all parties are comfortable with isn't bad, and then we can look at it later. But if we don't have it and something happens, then, you know, what if they decide to add more seats on Beaver Stadium?
Yeah,
You know, who knows?
Well, so if I'm doing my math right, and just to simplify it, if we said they had 1,000 square feet of sign on their base allowance, at 50,000 seats, that would give them another 100,000 square feet, they would get another 100% of that. At 100,000 seats would bring them to 3,000 square feet. And then you add that other 10,000 on there so they can get 3,030 feet or,
3,300.
yeah, it becomes pretty negligible.
Yeah.
And I'm good going wherever, I think Penn State would like more, and I understand why they would. This is
Yeah, incrementally, I mean, to me, I don't think that the capping at 75,000, I personally see no reason why there should be a cap on number of seats. Whatever number of seats are in that facility that have been used to calculate the gross floor area upon which all these calculations are based should be counted. And I think that would hold for the stadium, it would hold for another event venue, it would,
Medlar
Jordan
Field,
Center, whatever, you know, whatever.
Anything else being proposed? Yeah.
And it seems simpler.
Yo, it absolutely uncomplicates it.
So are we generally happy with that?
Did I give you the thing that had the seating for, remember I had that worked out on, I don't know, the stick,
Yeah.
what the seating was?
So
for
what-
the-
I don't know.
What would be the change? I understand, Adam, I understand what Adam's saying. If we were to explain it, how would you explain then where we ended up tonight?
I would say we would just change the proposal from planning commission that says, you know, allow this 10% for every 5,000 seats, capped at 100 and no more than 150% bonus. And I would just take it out, no bonus, no cap.
Just allowable signage may be increased by 10% for each 5,000 fixed seats.
Which is already in there.
That's
Yes.
proposed, yeah.
But it says, and it's to be capped at
Not to exceed
150% of base
150,000,
allowance. So if someone wants to build us a 200,000 square feet stadium, they get 5,000 square feet of signage.
If we're okay with that, we can be okay with that. We can also set it back into the maximum that we, I don't wanna see more than 3,000 square feet of signage on anything, you know, I don't know. Everything's perspective, a huge
Right.
thing,
Right.
you know, a huge footprint,
3,000's not a lot.
no, absolutely.
And I do have the seating calculations for other venues. They're all on campus because we have nothing else in the area that comes close, if you're interested. But, you know, even like Bryce Jordan Center is the next biggest thing at 16,000.
Yeah, 16, that's why I said, you set at 50, there's nothing else at that point. So you've already set the ceiling or the floor, I don't know which way you look at that one, but.
Well, and that would kind of ride like our current sign ordinance goes is, we have no cap on our current sign ordinance.
Right.
If someone builds a 5 million square foot warehouse, they're not gonna have a whole lot more than the 1 million square foot warehouse because the way it graduates and the numbers change as the area goes up at each level.
Right.
Do not
Yeah,
lose
It's
that.
serving the purpose of a cap in some ways.
Exactly.
Yeah,
You reach a point of diminishing returns awful quick.
It's a de facto
the base, the existing base sign allowance already creates
The cap.
the cap,
Yeah, we say the de facto cap.
yes.
Because it's up to 30,000, right?
All right, there doesn't seem to be any objection to that. It certainly is simpler. It partially addresses Penn State's concern or request. Maybe totally, I don't know. And I would say this, the second bullet under theirs, did you guys cover that? We kind of talked about that, and we sort of met them halfway there, I would say.
I would say we met them halfway. I mean,
So-
they're asking to really get that, you know.
And I'll say, I initially, with this, when this was put together, proposed that illuminated signs may not exceed the base amount. And we didn't have anything about what height they could be at. And it sounds like council might be leaning towards, don't cap the height, let them have those those illuminated signs up. But just, we need to do a better job of clarifying intensity. And
you might even throw in, consider digital and static, because that is like intensity.
That's why I said type
Yeah.
and intensity. Type, I was looking at no digital up that high.
It may take a while to get something back to you. I really, based on this conversation, I think we may be better off to secure some input from some sort of lighting engineer that can help educate us and offer viable suggestions. I don't think we collectively have enough knowledge about these different things to adequately address it.
I think we have the parameters at this point. Now we need to kind of fill in some of the detail, and that may be where we get a little bit of assistance. Take a look at that. But
So in addition to intensity, digital and static is intensity.
Can be, very much.
Can be. So I think this was good. You know, it looked like a heavy lift when we were heading into it, but I think we did accomplish what we needed to tonight.
Yeah, I think we did, and now you know with this table, you know, this is a good basis for what we currently do. And I thought that discussion went where it needed to go. Thank you.
And on top of that, we pushed it in a simpler direction, didn't we?
Yes.
no question.
All right. Hey, Julian, you've been patiently listening to us. It's not an action item, but we would welcome any thoughts or comments.
Yeah, well, thank you all. I really appreciate the conversation and, again, the thought and consideration. I don't have, many questions. I think, Eric, you mentioned kind of the idea between, digital signage and when I first, the height restriction of illuminated signage, that was kind of my confusion. Are you referring to digital signage specifically, signage that's moving around and, things of that nature, or, as Rich said, the bat signals or the chipmunks at the top of the stadium? I don't know quite. So that, being specific about that is helpful for us, of course, as we plan. But no, we're thankful for being involved in this and the conversation, and appreciate the considered flexibility with Beaver Stadium and as we move forward into the future. So, but I don't necessarily have any other questions at this point, or concerns or comments. That would be all.
All right, Rich?
For the record, I did not call it the chipmunk. I want that on the record. And I would offer that hopefully you'll have a head football coach before we finish this ordinance.
You and me both. Hopefully, keep your fingers crossed for this weekend. So we'll see. But I have no insider information. That's just my prayers to God. So.
Thanks, Julian.
Anything else for Julian? No. All right. Hang on, Matt. Julian, before we cut you loose here, I think we heard you. We heard what you wrote. It factored into our discussion. I think we're making some progress here. What would be helpful as we move through this is any examples that you could provide us with what you think you might be wanting to do up there. We're flying blind here.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, we have other stadiums in other parts of the country, but our situation's a little bit unique in that we're not in an urban area surrounded by other tall buildings or event centers. So as we move through this and work with you, anything you could provide us, you know, in regards to intent or graphics or anything,
Yeah.
would certainly give us the context we need to keep moving.
Yeah, absolutely. Eric, as we work through it ourselves, I continue to keep close contact with our design team at Beaver Stadium, and as they have ideas or as they receive, I think it was mentioned before, donors and things as they come forward. I think that these things change pretty quickly, or as they come to us. But yes, as soon as we have some type of design or examples or anything that I think would be helpful for you all, I will definitely communicate that.
Yes, thank you. Matt?
My name is Laura Fowler, and I'm a resident actually of the borough of State College. Apologies for not being a resident of the College Township. Did want to offer some public comment on this, and I am not speaking, I do work for Penn State, I am not speaking on behalf of Penn State. I am speaking from my experience of working for Penn State as the Chief Sustainability Officer for 3 years, until April of this year when that job was eliminated. And if I had one surprise from having served in that job for 3 years is that I heard a lot about the lighting on Beaver Stadium. And so in talking a little bit with Sue Traynor, she asked if I could come speak about that experience. So I did want to actually add that to the conversation because that is, again, out of the 3 years of lots and lots of different conversations across the university, that's what I got the biggest earful from a lot of different folks. I would note, the discussion you guys had about beautification earlier. Lady Bird Johnson in 1965 actually pushed for beautification, thinking about signs and signage. It's not the amount of signage, but it is the illumination question, I think, that really raised a lot of people's questions and attention. The impact on health, a lot of people have been thinking about dark skies. Something like Cherry Springs actually draws people because of how dark it is. And this area, I think, is a recreational area. Lighting is a question. But the impact on wildlife is the other area that, I got a real earful from a number of folks. Interestingly enough, on Giving Tuesday a couple years ago, we actually ran on birds and biodiversity and had the most number of single donors across the university. Huge number of people coming out to say, hey, this is really important. We were dealing with bird-friendly glass in buildings, different question. But it was really, really striking how many people were like, hey, this is an issue that is important to us. I got an example email that I received from a student saying, I met briefly at the Lion Bash this summer, wanted to email support the efforts in turning off the Beaver Stadium lights. I'm an entomologist, and among the other problems that causes light pollution is a problem for insect biodiversity. What can I do to help support these efforts? So the key point may in fact be a timing question, both the intensity but the timing, and that time of day really came up. Light impacts really hurt birds and wildlife as they are migrating through. The Nature Conservancy has a pretty phenomenal map that shows migratory corridors, and we are right in the middle of one of the major migratory corridors for North America. The light pollution impacts their ability to travel safely, and I think that's one of the concerns is how far, you were talking about the light trespass earlier, how far does that light go? We have lost in the U.S. more than 3 billion birds since 1970, and we're in a biodiversity crisis. Anything we can do to help impact or make it better for habitat really, really helps in this area, both wildlife and insects. You can actually look, there's a dashboard that shows how many birds are migrating overhead in any given area in any given night. It's interesting to look at. We're past peak migration season now. But if you look in September and October, kind of prime football season, you see a lot. I think one of the other concerns is those stadium lights are on actually more than just events, though. It's not just event days, and I've had quite a bit of back and forth, which I'll come back to with folks in the athletics side of things. Dr. Julian Avery with Penn State's biology department notes, and I asked his permission to share this. He said, light pollution has clear and profound implications for human health and biodiversity. Animals rely on natural ambient levels of starlight illumination to navigate and maintain appropriate circadian rhythms. Humans are governed by many of the same internal mechanisms, and our natural cycles, including alertness and stress levels, are affected by subtle changes in ambient nocturnal light levels. There is sufficient evidence to support adoption of light-reducing technology and to avoid using any light at night that is not crucial for safety. Superfluous lighting should be eliminated. Biodiversity increases when we limit light pollution. We see more population abundance increases, better animal fitness, including body quality and offspring numbers. And again, his note is that we're eroding habitat quality in many different dimensions. This is an area we can do something about. Penn State's own lighting policy, there is an exterior lighting policy 265000, basically says the purpose of lighting at Penn State is to provide adequate illumination to support university mission, with particular attention to safety and security, energy, sustainability, maintainability, architectural compatibility, and human visual and performance and physiology. Interestingly enough, again, one of those things, I didn't mean to learn a lot about the lights around the stadium, but I did. They didn't have the ability to actually turn them on and off. It was a guy on a ladder going up to turn them off. They have retrofit them now with the new lights to be able to actually remotely turn them off. The same thing with the IM fields. Working on doing a remote control way to turn that off. It was otherwise a guy with a key or a lady with a key going out to the fields to turn them off. So that, I think, was supposed to have been done over this past summer to make it easier to actually manually but remotely change those lights. Penn State's lighting standards follows 5 principles of responsible outdoor lighting. Should be useful, all lighting should have a clear purpose, should be targeted, light should be directed only where it is needed. Low light levels, light should be no brighter than necessary, should be controlled, should only be used when it is useful, and warmer color lighting should be used when possible. Again, these are the standards Penn State already has. I had been in touch with Vinnie James, who is the Assistant Athletic Director, to say, Vinnie, I'm getting an earful, can you help me? What can we do about this? We went back and forth quite a bit. And in September of 2023, he noted, I had a conversation with everyone from facilities to video production and IT. Everyone committed to and agreed with ensuring that lights are off by 10 p.m. each night unless there's a significant reason for this, a game, maintenance, etc. So we think the university is already, I'm not speaking for the university, but potentially willing to think about, right, what does this impact look like for the time of day? From the biology perspective, if the lights can be off from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. or midnight to 6 a.m., that makes a big difference. So just wanted to bring that to your attention. Again, my inadvertent lessons over the last few years and what this space looked like. So appreciate your time and attention and the lively conversation about this. Happy to follow up with some of the resources I talked about if that's of help. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. It almost sounds like Penn State's done some work for us. We may just be able to, in certain places, refer to their own policy.
Sounds like
We don't
Have to get a
necessarily
copy of
need to
that.
build a case for some of our concerns. They seem to be already identified in their own policy. We may just have to ask them to
Follow it.
just tossing that out there.
We do have other experts at Penn State who do lighting. I don't know their names off the top of my head, but again, one of my jobs for 10 years was to help match people with research questions, so I will dig up some names and send them your way.
My first inclination for anything is to try and contact one of the experts we have on campus.
Yeah.
I don't know that I'd feel comfortable because what we're dealing with is a request from Penn State. I think I would feel better getting a neutral. Is that Penn State lighting policy available online to anybody?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and Jonathan Walker is the lighting specialist for Office of Physical Plant. I think Julian knows or could reach to who he is too. But yeah, there's a specialized program. You can look up Penn State's lighting policy and find it online. You just have to know where to look.
Okay, well, you heard tonight, two of our concerns were intensity and hours of operation. So I think we all recognize it's a football stadium that has very large events and requires a lot of lighting when those events go on. So probably somewhere around the margins is where we can be most effective in mitigating the impacts that you talked about.
And I think the concerns I was hearing and got an earful weren't necessarily the game days. It was how often those lights are on and how late they're on.
Right, agree.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. A little more to work with.
Yeah, that
beyond
was
our
great
conversation.
information.
Thank you, Dr. Fowler.
If there is no further discussion needed here. Matt Iyer, you seated your,
I got a deep thing, but just real quick. This whole process for the lighting, I think, has been not real well structured. Our first meeting, we sort of had an ask that we didn't really know what the ask was. There was no ask. So we bounced around. I mean, we had some people say no limit. We had some people say stick the original one. Finally, we came up with the 150 number. And I really think everybody in the, I'll come out on the list, what you guys said, the planning commission will agree to. So I come to the council meeting and I see Mr. Morales, and if you remember, Lindsay, I emailed you saying, who's Mr. Morales? Because there was no representation from Penn State at the PC meeting. And then we discussed it again, and the same thing happened. There was, we really weren't sure what the ask was. And if we had, if we would have had the bullet points beforehand, I think it would have been much more, well thought out, thorough thing. So I just think this wasn't the smoothest process.
no, Matt, no one here is faulting the planning commission.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm trying to correct in the future the process. Yeah.
It's an opportunity to improve.
Well, I also think that this has evolved as it's gone along as well, because when we first had the conversation with council and the remand came forward to the planning commission, we really didn't have an idea about what to do with that number, because there wasn't one that was provided to us, other than we would like to be able to do something more than what we can do now. And so the task from staff and from council and to the planning commission really was, well, okay, here's a stadium of this size, and what is a reasonable amount of signage to allow, whether lighted or unlighted. So we were all kind of working in this. I think through this process, of which the planning commission's determination and recommendation was really key to get us to this point. I think we're starting to see, and it's taking shape around a particular number. That was very much obscured at the beginning. I don't think anybody knew that, but I think with the good comments and the good work the planning commission did, I think it's helping us to inch toward the ultimate answer here, because we still don't have a specific number that has come from the university or anyone else about a specific amount of signage that they would like to see, that someone would like to see. So we're trying to work within the parameters that we have to make this reasonable, for all concerned. So, but I think PC's been key in assisting us to get to that point. So.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I think it was foundational work, for sure. Our last discussion, we brought out a lot of stuff, and one of the things we threw out is, hey, what's Penn State think of what we're talking about right now? And then I think that triggered the letter we got. Now we have an understanding of what their thinking is, and that helps or hurts what we're trying to do, but everything is developed off of the planning commission's initial work and everything, and then a lot of staff's work and everything, and we just try to offer a little bit here and there where we can, and stir the pot or different things like that.
Well, I think we stirred the pot tonight, but I think it was a productive and effective stirring. If there isn't any further discussion, we can move off of this. It's not an action item, and we can move into new business. We have two items under new business, the first of which is NB1, the College Township 2026 draft budget. We will need action at some point tonight if we're going to stay on target for meet our deadline, but I think before we entertain a motion, we have a PowerPoint that staff's
I
going to
believe
go
so.
through.
I hope so.
Yes, you
There's
do.
one in the packet.
There is one in the packet.
There will be one on the screen.
And there will be one on the screen. All right, that's great.
Here we go.
Okay.
Do you want the clicker, or do you want me to just go through for you?
No, there aren't that many, and you can click, you'll kind of figure out where I'm at.
Okay.
I'd just take over.
Or you can
Just do.
deliver
No, I'm good.
if you
Thank you.
prefer.
Read
Okay.
the slide.
So, Mr. Chair, at your pleasure, we're here to talk tonight about the proposed 2026 College Township budget. The state law requires a final adoption by December 31st of any given year. Pleased tonight with presenting the proposed budget here to let you know that we're on target for doing that. I believe we actually have a date. Assuming that the proposed budget is adopted or approved this evening by council, there is a 20-day minimum requirement that the budget is made public for any comments from our constituents, and then thereafter council may take action. So given that the date today is the 4th, we'll be taking action after the Christmas holiday, and I believe that we have identified the date of the 30th. December 30th would be the date of the final budget adoption. So with those timelines in mind, to start here, what I'd like to do is go through a little bit of the 2025 budget year in review. So in 2025 current year, there was no property tax increase for the 4th consecutive year, despite the impacts that we've had from inflation. The last incremental tax increases were both in the COVID years of 2020 and 2021. Those were 0.40 mils and 0.30 mils respectively. Generally, we've had very strong revenue collection overall in 2025. While there have been less Penn State impact fees than we experienced in 2024, those have returned to more typical baseline levels of collection. And we also utilized in the 2025 budget our remaining $400,000 in American Recovery Plan funds that were used to offset our police costs, our police services costs. Also in 2025, wages, employees received a 3% COLA and were eligible for a 2.0% maximum merit increase, and our health care increased by 11.7%, which was a considerably higher increase than what we had had over the last several years. Again, in 2025, some of the major projects and initiatives, we continued with the development of form-based code, First Avenue water line replacement and paving was a large project for us this year. We had the Spring Creek Park basketball and tennis courts resurfaced. The local impact report was accepted, and the building space study was accepted. So we've had a very busy and productive 2025. Going into 2026, I am very pleased to inform council that we are proposing that this be our 5th consecutive year with no property tax increase. The budget before you this evening does not propose a property tax hike. It would remain at 6.10 mils, and that is effectively no change. Likewise, for 2026, we're proposing no millage changes, which are that 6.10 total millage is broken down across categories for general governmental use, fire protection, road machinery, parks and recreation, library, and debt service. The 2026 millages are proposed to be identical to those in 2025. Normally, you'll see from year to year our millages change to address various surpluses and deficits in various of those categories. In this particular coming year, we don't see a need to make any of those changes. So, based on that, moving on to the various funding sources, we are anticipating approximately $3.165 million in property taxes to be received in 2026. Our EIT, LST, that list of enabling taxes will represent about $3.72 million. Our long-term debt, about $633,000. Intergovernmental, $3.78 million. Charges for fee and services, $1.202 million. And our new category for us this year is the local share account, where we're estimating approximately $762,000 coming to the township in terms of revenue. Now, that local share account is a first. It's the first time we've had this particular account, and it represents the host municipality fees that we receive from the Pennsylvania Gaming Commission from the Happy Valley Casino that is poised to open this spring of 2026. So our total funding for the 2026 budget comes in at about $16.4 million. As far as spending, one of our largest areas of expenditure is police protection, and we had a presentation from outgoing Chief John Gardner of the State College Police Department several weeks ago, where we settled on having 265 hours a week of police services provided, and that total amount would be approximately $1.93 million. We have about $616,000 worth of debt service, that's principal and interest, that we'll be paying this year. Capital projects total $5.68 million. And our Center Region COG obligations total $1.8 million. Payroll and benefits will be approximately $3.8 million. And all other spendings, which are utilities, insurance, IT, those types of things, come in at about $2.9 million. So we have $1.678 million in spending against $16.4 million worth of revenue. That differential would be handled by existing reserves. That is a very quick overview of the 2026 proposed budget. Again, the big takeaway here is that there is no tax increase proposed. 2026 would represent the 5th year in a row that the township has been able to keep the tax rate steady. So with that, Mr. Chair, I'd be happy to answer any questions. The appropriate motion to be considered would be to approve the proposed 2026 budget and authorize the township to advertise and to set the final budget adoption date as December 30th.
Well, let's start there. We can always get into some discussion and answer questions. We've all been through the work session. We had some, we're probably going to have some questions tonight, but we could start with a motion if someone feels so inclined.
Mr. Chair, I propose that council adopt the draft 2026 spending plan, direct staff to make proposed plan available to the public, and set and advertise a public hearing for December 30th, 2025 at 5:30 p.m. in a hybrid meeting format.
Do I have a motion? Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. We got the budget motion on the floor. Let's, comments, questions for staff? Rich?
I would only offer, this is especially poignant this year in light of what's going around the rest of the center region. So compliments to staff on bringing this forward. The LSA is a new element. We'll see where that goes, but I like that we were conservative in our approach to that and let that flesh out to what it actually is or isn't and everything. So, but another item that it's subtle, but that we don't need to make any millage changes between the various components of the funds and everything is pretty neat too, because I don't think we've ever done that.
I don't think I've sat in this chair any year when we didn't at least make a millage adjustment.
Yeah.
Tracy, anything?
I just echo what my colleague said, and I think you did a great job, and I do agree with the conservativeness that approach that we took for that new line items.
LSA.
Yeah, LSA.
Gonna get used to saying that.
I know.
Because it's gonna be around.
I gotta get used to saying it,
Yeah. Now that Susquehanna, we can park that one for a while, right?
yeah.
Start working on LSA.
Yeah, I think, great job.
Yeah, really, like what Rich said, the credit really extends back several years to, when the American Recovery Funds and what we decided to do with them, and more importantly, what we decided not to do with them. So kudos to everyone for really, this is a culmination of work over many years. So,
There were
good
some
job.
tough decisions that were made
Yes.
in 2020 and 2021 that have kind of paved the way for where we're at now.
Yeah, that was kind of the point I was trying to make. So the fruits of those labors, those tough decisions are bearing right now. Okay, one question. I saw some neighboring townships out plowing their bike paths, and I forgot to ask that during the work session. We left, that's still in, right?
Yes.
Okay. We kind of set the standard and everybody else jumped on, and now we can't back off, right?
Right.
Well, I don't know. We were a little late to the party on bike path plowing. But sure, we can look at it that way.
Well, there wasn't too much out in front of us.
No, but it was something that was, yeah.
We've
We
been
have
hearing
some
about it.
difficult, we have some difficult sections of our overall bike path. Now, none of those are presently being plowed. Like, for example, the S curve in the Dales, along past Daleview Park to Scenery Park, that's an area that's somewhat treacherous, to say the least. But we do have some significant portions of our bike path that are plowed regularly. And what's our standard as far as how much?
It's after a 3-inch storm, at the end of the storm, at the direction of staff. They don't just go out and do it.
Right.
So if we know that it's going to warm up, even if it does 3 inches, we know it's going to be a nice warm stretch, we don't dispatch them.
Now, you said the S curve. What I've noticed is nothing gets done beyond Branch Road.
Right.
That's correct. Yeah, we only do up to Branch Road.
Is there any challenge between Branch Road and Daleview, or we just found that to be the convenient stopping point?
Well, I think it's mostly the convenient stopping point. You could go to a point in the vicinity of Daleview Park,
Yeah,
but
'cause
beyond that, I think
I
it gets
think you could
very.
provide enough, that little stretch then would open up a connection for anybody in that neighborhood.
You could.
Access to the park and avoid the, what do you call the more treacherous?
Right, well, you have some pretty significant elevation and de-elevation, and, as well as the S curve. I mean, there are several difficult points along that stretch.
But from the feedback that I've got, obviously it's appreciated. And the one request I got was if we could at least go as far as Daleview, where there's a turnoff and a cutoff into the neighborhood. That small section would open it up, access up to that entire neighborhood to connect, at least in that direction.
Okay. Good.
Anything else? Okay, I have a motion on the floor. Any comments from the public before we take a vote here? All right, all in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Draft budget to be advertised and hopefully adopted on the 30th. One other new business item tonight, NB2, new position, Community and Economic Development Director. This is an action item, but I think Adam's going to...
Yeah, I'm going to briefly go through this. This is something that we have contemplated and we've had some conversations about during the development of the capital improvement program. As we have continued to grow, we've created a number of different needs, and one of the things where I think that we can be very well served is by creating a new position, a Community and Economic Development Director position. And this would essentially this department head level position would essentially oversee planning, zoning, and economic development initiatives in College Township. That would include things like the work of the IDA. It would include things like grant writing. It would include things such as our housing programs and things of that nature. So I think it's a well-timed position. There are many opportunities that I think that we can avail ourselves through here, and it also assists with reorganizing the township staff in such a way as it creates more opportunities for even more productivity. So I'm very pleased to be able to introduce this to council this evening. We have attached a job description as well as a proposed salary scale that will be included as part of our overall salary range. And I'm available to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay. The idea of this is not new. We've been talking about this for a while. However, this is the first time we've seen the salary range in the job description. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So that's fair game. Anybody have questions or comments on that? Rich? I don't either. So at this point, I think the appropriate action from council would be to approve the job description and wage range for the new Community Economic Development Director position.
Right.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
So seconded?
All right. Comments for council before we consider action? All in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. That concludes new business. Thank you, Adam, by the way. That takes us to staff informatives. There's nothing in our packet, but council's certainly open to being informed.
I just have a quick question. Last week or the week before, I sent around the remand that was going to the Planning Commission. I got some comments from Rich. I got some notification from Susan. If either of you or Tracy or Dustin, if you're listening, have any questions or input, if you could get those to me tomorrow, by tomorrow, the end of the day, that would be great.
Sure.
And then we'll get that moving on to the Planning Commission.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lindsay. Anything else under staff informatives? Anything under other matters? Going once?
Well, the only other thing is there is a scheduled tour for council at 2 o'clock tomorrow.
3, right?
2? 2.
2.
The 3 o'clock is the food bank tour. That's on the 16th.
That's on the 16th. I
Yeah.
got my dates mixed up.
It's okay. But also a reminder about the banquet.
Yes,
Banquet?
tomorrow night,
Tomorrow night.
ABC banquet will be at the Penn Stater
In the Senate Suites.
in the Senate Suites, and we start at 6 and dinner available at 7. So we will see you all there.
Is that the
And
same
wrap
area
up
as
at
last
8.
year? Is that the same area as last year?
It's the same venue, but it's in a different section. It's close.
It's past the President's Suites where it was last year. If
Okay.
you go all the way down the hall and then take a left, it's back there in the corner.
Okay.
Past the bathrooms.
Yeah,
Past the bathrooms.
Back at bathrooms, yeah.
That's where I was gonna.
Very convenient. All
Nice
right.
space.
Any other matters other than adjournment? Well, let's move to adjournment then.
So moved.
All right.
All right.
Too quick. We should have let him stew.